for all of the back and forth and disappointment about the moves made this offseason, for all of the conversation, I think we still undersell and need to remind ourselves over and over again that Julio can be the great mitigator. If Julio puts up superstar numbers, it will cover for any number of other holes in the lineup, of any other ailments that could befall this team. Other than health, which is an obvious one, it is the single most important deciding factor in how the Mariners season goes by a lot. More than philosophy, more than hitting coach. How Julio plays will be the biggest decider of this team other than health.
So he's the biggest X factor. Is this your first of three X factors?
It's not even close. No, I mean, he's such a big X factor. He's not even on my... I'm going to give you the next three.
Okay.
But Julio is so far above them, it's not close to me.
Okay, so one question regarding that. Because you've taken some fire and some shrapnel over the years, putting it as Julio goes, the team goes, and it's all about Julio, and it's all Julio's fault if it doesn't go well, right? There's been some of that. Are we to the point now in year number 4 where we're done with the excuses? We're done with, too much is on him. Well, too much is expected. Well, he doesn't have enough coverage in the lineup. Well, when you're going into your senior year, your 4th year in Major League Baseball, do we end some of those excuses? And they were totally fair explanations. And in fact, in year number 2, I think I landed on that explanation a lot. Like, man, you really needed more people around him. You need the Nelson Cruz, right? You need that veteran voice. Too much is being asked of him in year number 2 as a sophomore after a phenomenal phenom freshman season that too much was asked of him. Now going into year 4, can we kind of stop some of that? Or is there still like... And I'm not saying that he's a finished product and that he can't continue to ascend. I'm just talking about there's too much on him, too much pressure, too much expectation.
I mean, yes, I don't think we need to talk about that. I think it is fair to say that they could put more around him to ease some of that. I mean, like, it's great that Aaron Judge is awesome, but they've put people around him. I don't think it's an accident that he was even better last year with Juan Soto in that lineup. I mean, like... It is helpful to take the pressure off of people and allow, more of that to be spread out. So I don't know if that's an excuse. I think it's just it would behoove them to put people around Julio who can really help him get the best out of himself.
But as far as the just too much was on,
I'm not going to say that. No, he's the great difference maker. He's the reason why this offense should go. And unfortunately, his numbers have kind of gone the wrong direction the last few years, right? On base percentage, 345, 333 to 325. Slugging from 509 to 485 to 409. Like, OPS goes from 853 to 818 to 734. Those are, even 734 is 16% above average. But you need more than that out of Julio Rodriguez if you want to be a big-time contender. He's got to be putting up... at least 30 home runs and 30 steals. And last year, those numbers were in the 20s, 20 home runs and 24 steals. That's not the same Julio Rodriguez that came out his rookie year, 28 and 25, and then 32 and 37 as a sophomore. Like, you need that full game that Julio brings. So that, to me, is number 1. It's not even close. But I'll give you 3 other potential X factors, Brock. No philosophy, no coaches, nothing like that. These are just X factor offensive players for the Mariners this year. Here you go. Here's some X. Mr. X is the exhibit. Number 1, Brock. Number 1 X factor, other than Julio, is Randy Arozarena. Probably the most talented offensive player on the team other than Julio. And if they get the guy who put up high 700 to mid 800 OPS seasons early in his career, mix of power, clutch, speed, working counts, that gives Julio and Cal and the other players they need with thump. It gives them that extra, just dynamic type of player near the top of the lineup who I think can do real damage for them.
Do you have his numbers pulled up in front of you there? As you went through kind of Julio's and you looked at kind of year by year, I'm kind of curious, where's Randy's in those same numbers?
So Randy came out a little later, right? I mean, Randy's rookie year was 2019. He was 24. That's how old Julio will be this year. So every time we're a little critical of Julio or wondering where it's been, you should remember, Randy Arozarena, like most players, made his debut at 24 in the big leagues. And by the way, he played 19 games in St. Louis that year, then got traded to the Rays. And at 25, he played all of 23 games. It wasn't until his age 26 season that he became a regular player. Julio is still 24 this year. But in his first 2 seasons, the little, the 20-game stretches, he was great. OPS is of 891 and 1,022. That's tremendous. His first full season in Tampa, 2021, 141 games, 815 OPS. The next year, 153 games, 773 OPS. And OPS plus is, by the way, 129, 123. That accounts for the park factor, and that's not a great hitter's park either. The next year, 2023, again, 789, right? I mean, like right up and near that 800 mark. That's pretty good in today's game. Last year, struggled with Tampa, as you know, 712. With the Mariners, it was 733. But if he gets that OPS back up near 800, Brock, that's a huge difference for this team, no?
It is. Yeah, it is. It just kind of comes back, and I think of Ryan Divish, in that word he used last year at times and over the last couple of years of just ascending. You want ascending talent. Farm system sure feels like it is just ripe with these young players that are just ascending, and fun to see Laz Montez and these guys in Major League Camp.
I think other than last year, though, I don't see him as a descending player at all. I think Randy Arozarena was 773, then 789 the next year in 2023. He didn't have a great year last year. I don't know whether I see that as descending, and he's only 30 this year. So I think he's coming off of a rough stretch.
Yep.
But I
he's an enormous. He is an enormous X factor.
Number 2,
yes,
is J.P. Crawford, and you mentioned it last week, and you were absolutely right. Dude had a 133 OPS plus 2 years ago.
Yep.
He was worth over 5 wins for that season, according to Baseball Reference in 2023. So it's in him, right? I mean, he's only 30, same age as Arozarena. He needs to be that on-base machine, team leader, guy who starts huge rallies. And I would think that this new style, not that he's a base stealer, but he's a good base runner. I would think that this style should really fit JP more than anybody.
Yep, I would hope so. I mean, last year was just really, really rough.
It was rough.
And the health didn't help. And, who knows? We don't know all of the circumstances all the time, but there was never a stretch where you're like, poof, there it is. There's flashes of 23, right? There's flashes of him carrying this thing. Yeah, it was a rough year, and he is a big time.
If you remember that OPS Plus essentially measures your OPS compared to the rest of the league and takes into account park factors and everything.
And 100 is league average.
100 is league average. Look at this discrepancy. In the 2 years leading up to that, 102, 100, so he was basically a league average hitter. In 2023, the breakout year, it was 133. He was 33% better than average.
Yep.
Last year, that number dropped to 86.
Yeah.
That is a gigantic gap.
Yep.
So you get he doesn't need to be 133 again, but give you 110.
Yep.
Right? Just be a positive offensive player in the league, 10% above average at shortstop with leadership and all the other things JP brings. That'd be great.
Yep.
So X factor, number 2, J.P. Crawford. Number 3, and I should probably go with Victor Robles here, but I'm not going to. I don't think what he did last year is sustainable. I love Victor, and I think he could be a fun player for them, but I think expecting him to do what he did last year is just, it's too out of character. So I'll go off the board, and I'll go with a guy, Brock, that you mentioned a lot last year, and that's Luke Raley. Did you know that Luke Raley, after Robles, had the second highest OPS plus on the team last year?
I actually did.
You did?
I did. I was looking at these numbers, over the last couple of weeks, and there have been a bunch of these like comps with different free agents and what Luke did last year, and just from a consistency standpoint was when the hay was in the barn, it was a very impressive
It really was.
Season.
And contrary to everyone else in the world, he was a better hitter here than he was on the road. He was 240 OPS points better at home than on the road last year. That's insane. And now they're going to ask him to play a bigger role, to play first base almost every day, to hit more against lefties, where, by the way, he did struggle last year. That OPS was, again, 260 points lower against lefties than righties. So as you get, what's the defense going to look like at first base is a separate concern. But if Luke Raley is going to be kind of your everyday first baseman, and if he's not playing first, he's also sort of your backup in the outfield if Robles doesn't do what you'd hope. Like he's a huge piece for them. I would put him third on my X Factor list.
Yeah, and I know it's not a big deal, but man, is he an unbelievable base runner. I mean, his instincts and his speed and everything else. And I mean, he is tremendous on the base pass, and it's fun to watch that big man get rolling and get moving. And yeah, he had a nice little bomb to left center field yesterday and some of their live BP stuff as well. And hopefully a confidence builder. Remember sitting with him last year and just talking about the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs over the course of his time in LA and even down in Tampa, just wanting some normalcy, wanting some routine, and feeling like he's earned the right, certainly in a platoon situation, to see a bunch of it. Now, will Danny and crew run out as many platoons and protect him against lefties?
It doesn't feel like they want to do that. I think they want to try to get him out there. So we'll see. By the way, I would have guessed more than 11 stolen bases for Raley last year. It was only 11, but you're right, a good base runner. You know who led the team in steals last year, top of your head?
Robles.
No, second. And amazing because he did it in just
a lot of games. Yeah.
77 games. So steals per game was Robles. You know who's number one on the Mariners in steals last year? With 32. Who stole 32 bases for the Mariners last year?
Dylan
Moore. 32 bags. And obviously he's your starting second baseman to start this season.